Hi, YouTube.
Good morning, this is your boy GB Reviews. I wanted to do a final overview of the 2019 A6 TDI and also do the final kind of review of the MMI, just so that you know a little bit more about the new MMI system and the virtual cockpit. It's an amazing system. What I really enjoyed about this car is that it is by far one of the best Audis that I've driven in a long time. It is a technological marvel, but also it drives so well and it handles, people ask me like, how does it compare to my RS7? In terms of power, it does not, but in terms of comfort, it is just like much more comfortable than my RS7. What I enjoyed about it is that it was, even though it's a diesel engine, it was powerful enough to cruise on the Autobahn at speeds of 150 miles an hour. It's electronically limited to 155, so I was able to get it to 150 or 149, something like that. But it's a good car, and I drove for a week, and I probably did over 1,000 miles in terms of driving every day. A lot of driving. Fuel economy wise, it's not bad. I would say that for every, 200 and something miles, I'd probably put a half a tank in it. The other thing is I didn't notice like any diesel lag, and that's something that probably hasn't occurred in years, but I didn't notice that at all. When I was on the highway and I needed to pass vehicles, things like that, it was not a problem at all. And when I was on the Autobahn and cruising speeds, only the fastest vehicles were kind of zipping past me. So I think all in all, I think I like it. In terms of comfort and fit, the S-Line was great. I was very comfortable. Again, I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'4", about 240 something pounds. And I was comfortable, butt and seat for much of the week and just a lot of driving around. In terms of visibility, the thing I don't, and this is just a kind of a preference thing, the European mirrors they're set up slightly different. I'm going to try to show you, but they give you a different kind of perspective on, in the US it says objects are closer than they appear. Well, the European spec mirrors have kind of a dual, one part magnifies and one part gives you the regular. So it took my eyes a little bit of time, probably like a day or two to get used to it, and then I don't even notice it. But I noticed it a lot when I first got here. Again, that won't be a problem once it comes to the States. Everything else I thought was the same. Audi always does a good job. The fit and finish, great. The seams, are hand stitched, or at least they looked hand stitched. They're probably not. They're probably machined, but they looked hand stitched, and that part I think is what sets Audi apart from many other luxury auto companies, especially some of the Asian ones and the American ones, is that the fit and finish, everything just feels so solid. So let me just flip around. We're going to talk about the MMI, and then I'm going to get out of here. All right, so as I said, I was going to talk to you a little bit more about the MMI. I showed you a little bit in my last video, but it is super amazing and super sensitive to the touch. But what I want to show you really is how they effectively utilize both screens. And then you still have the, over here you have the virtual cockpit screen, but they utilize both screens. So like say if I go to nav and I go to search, so the bottom screen becomes active, and so the touchpad that you used to have here now becomes your screen, and it's actually really touch sensitive. So if I start writing, you can see it, and it, the handwriting recognition on this is much better. Like, I can just write pretty simply, and it's like before you delete or you do a space, and it tells you. And everything comes up, which is nice up here. So this is the navigation piece. And the navigation piece, and you can change the language down here, which I thought was really nice. And if you want to type, it's here too. But they're just nice things about it. And then, like your last destinations are here. But they're also, if I do here and I hit the menu, the last destinations and the map, and favorites come up here. So I mean, it's super integrated, and I think that they did a great job of making sure that this MMI piece, which is MMI Plus, and this piece works well together. And again, you know, it's just the typical fare. It goes through all of the different screens. You know, you can scroll up and down. You click the view button to make that larger and smaller. Now again, in the S and RS versions, this would actually shift to the center when you push the view, and then that would be a sport model. The other thing I told you I like about this car is that it has the traffic sign recognition. But the traffic sign recognition in Europe, and I don't know if they'll do this in the US, but it works much better in the sense that if you have your cruise control set or your auto driving set, once and say I have it set for, you know, 60 miles an hour, but it moves into a 30-mile-an-hour zone, it automatically adjusts your cruise control or your stop and go driving to 30 miles an hour. And then when you get out of the 30-mile-an-hour zone and you're back to your other zone, it'll flip back. So I thought that's kind of cool. Telephone, it's just normal telephone setup. Media. The media thing I like, if it's hooked to your phone, and if this was hooked properly, I just kind of did it quickly. If I hit list, this would come up. Oh, the other thing I was going to tell you about the screen is that when a button is available, it clicks. Like you can hear an audible click and it gives you haptic feedback. But like now, this button, if it was active, it would make a noise. It doesn't make a noise at all, and I don't get the feedback. So let me tell you, that to me, Audi did a really good job with that, because now you know when you're touching a button, you physically feel like it's similar to the Apple kind of feedback. I guess it's just something under the screen, but it makes you feel like you're actually touching the screen, even though the screen is actually not physically going in. Radio, you can put, down here you store your presets down here, and you just scroll through them, as you can see. This right here turns the lane assist off and on. This turns the auto stop off and on. And then again, I showed you this before, this just turns the screen off. Now, the one thing I didn't figure out how to do is how to turn the bottom screen off, which is actually in some ways kind of annoying because it's so bright. You can make it larger, but again, when you make this part it makes it a little bit darker when you make it all the temperature control settings. But again, I wish you could turn it off, and then your heated seats are here. Everything else, like if you turn this off, it doesn't turn. It just turns the air conditioning off, not the screen off. So that part I thought was a bit kind of hokey. And then of course up here, it tells you all of the things, you know, about your phones. And right now I have two phones hooked up to the system, and that's it's dual Bluetooth. So that means if you have two devices, a work phone and a home phone, you can hook them both up. Or if you have two devices, you know, your phone and somebody else's phone, they can hook them up, especially if you're doing a long drive. And then of course the home screen gives you like the list of all the things, and I showed you this before. Some of the things that you can use that I'm not able to use right now because I don't have a SIM subscription, but would be the messages, the news, the weather, and also it has a LTE hotspot in the car. So if you have that, I guess when it comes to the States, it'll be kind of cool to have. I guess that's it. This is your boy GB Reviews. I'm gonna try to get out of here, but I wanted you again to see the MMI setup and the virtual cockpit of the 2019 TDI, which we won't get the TDI, we'll probably get the TSF, and we'll get the, you know, S-Line, I mean not the S-Line, but the S6 and the RS6, hopefully. Keep my fingers crossed with the RS6. I don't know if we're gonna get that, but if we get it, hopefully we'll get it. But that's it. Give you a nice view before we roll out. Shout out to Audi, and then we're out of here. Thank you. Please let me know what you think about the video. Please subscribe, like below, and I'll see you next time.
Subscribe right below.